Hello, Stair Tutors. My name is Kelsey, and I'm a former second grade teacher. And today I'll be reviewing with you the important skill of retelling a story. You will be practicing retelling a story with your student in several lessons throughout your time together. At the end of the video, I'll model reading a short story and completing a great grade level retell of the story. If after this video you still have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the Stair team if you need support. Retelling is a short, consistent routine students can use to recall, order, and summarize a text. With this retelling routine, students are developing communication skills, supporting the acquisition of new vocabulary words, and practicing important comprehension skills such as determining key details, understanding text structure, and making inferences. There are several components that your student must include in their retell. A good retell should be retold in sequential order, meaning it has a clear beginning, middle, and end. A good retell should also mention the main characters. At the very least, your student should mention them by name. An even stronger retell would include mention of important details about the main character, such as describing the character's feelings throughout the story. Students should include information about the setting, especially if it contributes to events that happen in the story. For example, if a character got lost in the woods or was moving into a new house, that would be an important detail that needs to get included. And of course, a good retell needs to include all of the main events in the story. Most often in children's storybooks, there will be a problem and solution, and this must be included in a good retell. One last thought to leave you with, since we reviewed a good retell, is that it's important to note that a retell that is not up to grade level standards would be missing one or more of these components, or your student has decided to retell the story almost word for word and include every single tiny detail rather than looking at the overall big picture of the story. Now, it is incredibly important to recognize that your student most likely will not be coming to your session already with the ability to complete a grade level retell. So here are some tips to help you if your student is struggling. One option is to look back at the pictures in the story to help ignite your student's memory of what happened and retell the story as you use the pictures for support. Another option is to pick a part of the story to model retelling for your student to help them better understand the skill they are practicing. You can also ask questions to prompt the next part of the retell if your student gets stuck. Depending on your student's need for support, you can ask more general questions such as what happened first or what happened next. But don't worry about asking more specific questions if needed, such as how did the character feel when that happened? And one final tip is to reread the story in sections of beginning, middle, and end, and then to retell each section right after you read. Finally, if you find that you had to utilize one of these tips to provide student support, always challenge your students to see if they can do a second retell completely independent without your support. Today, the story I'm going to read for my retell is The Carrot Seed by Ruth Krauss.
A little boy planted a carrot seed. His mother said, "I'm afraid it won't come up." His father said, "I'm afraid it won't come up." And his big brother said, "It won't come up." Every day, the little boy pulled up the weeds around the seed and sprinkled the ground with water. But nothing came up. And nothing came up. Everyone kept saying it wouldn't come up. But he still pulled up the weeds around it every day and sprinkled the ground with water. And then, one day, a carrot came up, just as the little boy had known it would. The end.
I hope you enjoyed the story of the carrot seed. Now I'm about to do the retell, but I do just want to mention that the books that you read with your student are going to be a little bit longer, a little bit more complex, and include a little bit more detail. So be mindful of that when you're doing your retell. Some of those details will be important. This book didn't have a lot of extra details. However, it fits the need of doing a simplistic retell. I am actually not going to look back into the story as I complete my retell, and you want to encourage your student to try to do the same thing, of course, unless you are using one of those tips and need to look back in the story because your student is struggling. So I'm going to put the story over here, and I'm going to retell the story, and I'm going to include all of the components that we reviewed earlier in the video. At the beginning of the story, there was a little boy who wanted to grow a carrot, so he planted a carrot seed. Everyone in his family, including his mom and his dad and his big brother, told him that the carrot would not grow. This made the little boy feel sad or discouraged. But he kept tending to the seed. He watered it, he weeded the ground, and he waited patiently for the seed to grow. But still, nothing came up. So he kept watering the ground and weeding the ground, and then one day, a carrot grew, and then he picked his carrot.